Hi, this is Lauren Whitaker, and today I'm going to be talking about drapery and curtains. First off, we're going to start with defining a whole bunch of terms. The first one is bar tack balance. This is the stitch line behind the pleat of a drape or valance that creates the basic pleat, and it reinforces the areas of stress on the garment or drapery in this case. Buckram crinoline weights. This is a stiffening material, and it's used at the top of pleated drapes to give it some shape. The bracket width, that's the width between the metal pieces attached to the wall or casing that support a drapery or curtain rod. A box pleat panel is a double pleat formed by two folded edges facing each other. They're evenly spaced and stitched, and they're available. You can have them open, closed, or inverted. I'll be showing some pictures to go along with these words later on in the presentation. The next is cafe curtain, and it's a short curtain, and it hangs downward, and it usually just covers the bottom half of a window, but sometimes it does the upper, and a lot of times you will see these in cafes or restaurants. And carriers are small runners on a traverse rod to which the draperies are hooked or snapped, and these are often called slides. A cascade is a lined window treatment with folds of fabric hanging from the top of a drapery heading. It's shaped pleated ends for valances with zigzag folds to a point. The casement is a sheer or semi-sheer fabric window treatment, and it's usually used with other drapes that go over it or fixed side panels. The center draw are draperies that open from and close to the center of the window. And the center support is a bracket used to support the center of a drapery rod and keep it from sagging. Sometimes they use more than one if it's a really long rod. A cornice is a firm box-like decorative treatment, usually constructed of plywood, and it goes on top of the draperies. Usually it's shaped and padded and covered with fabric. A curtain rod is a device used to suspend curtains, usually above a window. The cut is the number of widths of fabric needed to construct a window treatment. The cut length is the length required to cut each piece of fabric. It includes the hem, heading, and pattern repeat if necessary. Dimensional stability is the ability of a fabric to keep its size and shape when subjected to different kinds of stress like temperature, pressure, and moisture. A draw drapery is a drapery hung on a traverse rod and moved either electronically or by a cord. Dressing down is the final adjustments on draperies after an installation to perfect the appearance. Usually it's just making the folds look right by moving it with your hands into the desired lines or pleats. The end brackets are supporting pieces of hardware that attach a drapery rod to the wall or ceiling, and they control the amount of projection. Fenestration is the design and arrangement of openings in a building envelope, such as doors, windows, and skylights. Filling is the yards perpendicular to the warp yarn in the weaving process. It's also known as the pick or weft. Finial is a decorative piece at the end of a rod, and it also serves to keep the rings from falling off. The finished length is the total length of the drapery when ready to hang after everything has been added. A French pleat is a traditionally folded pleat. It's divided into 3 equal sections. It can sometimes be confused with just the standard pinch pleat, but it's more softly rounded and not as sharply pressed. The gredge is unfinished and undyed fabric just off the loom or knitting machine. A hand is the fabric's tactile qualities such as softness, firmness, drapeability, and resiliency. The heading is the fabric that extends above the rod pocket or valance board. And the hem warp, the finished sides and bottoms of the drape. The side hems are usually 1.5 inches, and the bottom hems are usually 4 inches. The hold back is a decorative piece of hardware that holds the drapery to the side of the window so that it does not hang straight. The tie back is a piece of fabric that holds the drapery to the side of the window so it does not hang straight. So basically the difference between the hold back and the tie back is that the hold back is actually hardware and a tie back is just a piece of fabric. The jabot is fabric that is angled on the side, on the bottom, and folded vertically to form a flat pleated side panel. A lambrequin is a type of cornice that frames a window, and sometimes it can go all the way down to the floor or near it at the sides. Lined drapery is drapery that has a fabric backing that can protect it from soil and the sun, and also gives extra insulation. The master carrier, arms that overlap in the center of the traverse rod when the curtains or draperies are closed. A one-way draw is pretty self-explanatory. It's drapery or curtain that only opens to one side, either full left or full right. The overlap is part of a drapery panel that rides the master carrier of a traverse rod and overlaps in the center to create a neat closing. A pair of draperies is the equal panes of fabric pleated at any width depending on an area and fullness. A panel, 2 or more widths of fabric sewn together. A pair has 2 panels. And pattern repeat is the distance from one point on a pattern to the same point further up the pattern. Pins are metal hooks that are sharp on one end, and they are used to attach draperies to the rod. A pinch pleat is stitched in the regular manner and divided into 3 sections, pinched and tacked into precise folds. As I mentioned earlier, it's similar to the French pleat, but it has sharper and more permanent folds. Pleater tape is fabric tape with pockets, and it's sewn onto the tops of draperies so that hooks can easily be slipped into them to form the pleats. Projection is the distance or jutting out from the front of a valance board or rod to the wall. The return is the distance from the traversing rod to the wall or depth of the projection. So the return is very similar to the projection. The rod pocket is the hem at the top and sometimes the bottom of a drapery through which a rod is inserted. The selvage is the tightly woven edge on a width of fabric that keeps it from unraveling. Shirred curtains are curtains that are gathered onto stationary rods. Rod-to-rod curtains are shirred on the rod using shirring tape. A side hem is just the hem on the side of a drapery. It's usually 1.5 inches. The sill is the horizontal ledge-like portion of a window casing. Spring rods are oval or round rods with a spring, and they're designed to compress snugly inside of a window frame, and you use them mostly when you don't want to permanently fasten a curtain rod onto your wall. The stack back is the width of a window treatment in fully open position beside the window. Standard fullness, or 2 times fullness, is the width of a drapery after it has been sewn and pleated, including the rod width. Tip to tip is the length of the window shape roller that includes the pin ends. Traverse is a rod that opens and closes the drapery with a drawcord. And a valance is a horizontal fabric treatment used at the top of draperies, and it's used for decoration or to hide the hardware and cords. The warp is the yarns that run lengthwise in woven goods parallel to the selvage. Weights ensure that there's an even hemline and the drapes hang straight. Lead weights are sewn in at vertical seams and each corner of a drapery panel. Chain weights are small beads strung in a line along the bottom hem line of shears. The width is the measured distance from one side of the window to another. It also refers to the width of the fabric.